Every Saturday morning, the same quiet ritual unfolds across suburban America. Drive through any neighborhood and you'll see them lined up in driveways, massive pickup trucks. Full size, lifted high, chrome shining under the sun. Not a scratch on them, not a mark out of place. They look powerful, untouchable. But step closer. Look into the truck bed. Nothing. Completely empty, clean to the point of being untouched. The liner still looks brand new because for most of these trucks it practically is. No tools, no dirt, no signs of work. Since the day they left the dealership, they haven't carried anything heavier than a few grocery bags. There's a name for this. Pavement Princesses. Machines built to handle tough, demanding work that never actually do any. It's like installing a professional-grade kitchen and only using it to reheat food in the microwave. Now here's the part most people don't want to hear. These trucks cost between $65,000 and $95,000. Monthly payments land anywhere from $800 to $1,400. Add insurance, another $200 to $350. Fuel alone can easily hit $400 or more every month. All in, you're looking at $1,500 to $2,000 every single month for a truck that never works. And somehow, the owners still believe they made a smart decision. This is the Pavement Princess trap, one of the most efficient wealth-draining systems in modern America. It quietly empties bank accounts across every income level, while the people inside it believe they're being practical. And that's what makes it dangerous, because this isn't just about money. It's about psychology. It explains why people earning solid income still feel stuck, still feel broke, still wonder where their money keeps going. So let's break it down. Because once you see how this trap works, you'll understand why so many financially responsible people walk straight into it. Pickup trucks weren't always like this. Go back to 1990, and they were nothing more than tools. Contractors used them. Farmers relied on them. Tradesmen needed them every single day. The interiors were basic, vinyl seats, minimal electronics, built for function over comfort. They were simple, affordable, and purposeful. The average new vehicle back then cost around $15,000, and trucks fit right into that range. People bought them because they actually needed what they could do. Today, that reality is gone. Modern pickup trucks have crossed into an entirely different category. The average price now sits above $58,000. High-end models regularly push past $80,000, with some approaching six figures. A well-equipped truck is no longer a tool, it's a luxury purchase. Step inside, and it becomes obvious. Heated and cooled leather seats, panoramic sunroofs, premium sound systems, screens bigger than laptops. The experience rivals high-end sedans, and in some cases, it exceeds them. This didn't happen by accident. Manufacturers figured something out. People don't just buy trucks for utility. They buy them for what they represent. Strength, capability, independence. Even if none of those things are ever tested, the image alone is enough. So the industry evolved. It kept the rugged exterior, but filled the inside with luxury. The result? A perfect status product. You get the comfort of a premium vehicle while feeling like someone who could handle anything, whether you ever do or not. And that feeling comes with a price tag most people can't truly afford. Let's walk through the numbers. Because once you see the math behind a typical purchase, you'll understand just how expensive this decision really becomes. Imagine someone earning $75,000 a year, solidly middle class. They decide to buy a full-size truck. Nothing extreme, just a well-equipped model priced around $62,000. They put down $5,000, wiping out most of their savings. The remaining $57,000? Financed at 7% over 72 months. Because that's the only way the payment feels manageable. That financing creates a monthly payment of $975. Then the real cost begins stacking up. Insurance on a full-size truck can run about $2,400 a year, or another $200 a month. Registration, taxes, and fees may vary depending on the state, but averaged out, add roughly $50 more every month. Then comes fuel. Drive 15,000 miles a year in a truck getting 14 miles per gallon with gas around $3.80 a gallon, and you're spending about $340 a month just to keep it moving. Now add everything together. The real monthly cost is not $975, it's over $565. For someone earning $75,000 a year, take-home pay after taxes and deductions might land around $4,800 per month. That means this one vehicle eats almost 1/3 of every dollar that actually reaches their bank account. 1/3 of their income. For something mostly parked in the driveway. A common financial guideline says total transportation costs should stay below 15% of gross income. This truck pushes far beyond that. On paper, it's overextension, but lenders still approve it because the truck itself backs the loan. And this is where the trap tightens. After 6 years, the owner has made more than $70,000 in payments. Add the original $5,000 down payment, and the total cash outflow is around $75,000. What do they own at the end? A used truck worth maybe $28,000 to $32,000. So after all that, roughly $45,000 has vanished. That's about $625 every month in wealth destroyed through depreciation and financing. But even that understates the damage. If that same $625 per month had been invested into index funds, earning an average 8% return, it could have grown to around $57,000 over those 6 years. So the real cost is not just the $45,000 lost, it's the lost investment growth too. Together, that's over $100,000 in wealth either destroyed or never created. All for a truck that barely used its truck bed. And the reason people fall into this trap is not just bad math. It's psychology. The first force is identity signaling. A truck says something. It suggests toughness, independence, and capability, even when none of that is actually being used. A guy who has never towed a trailer can still feel more rugged stepping out of an F-250 than stepping out of a sensible sedan. Automakers know this. That's why truck commercials show mountains, mud, rivers, job sites, trailers, and impossible payloads. The owner absorbs that imagery and connects it to himself. The truck stops being transportation. It becomes a costume for the version of himself he wants to believe in. That makes the purchase feel necessary instead of indulgent. He is not buying luxury. He is buying preparedness. He is buying the feeling that one day, if life demands it, he'll be ready. But most of the time, that day never comes. The capability stays theoretical. Many owners rarely use the bed, rarely tow, and rarely need the power they paid for. The truck's real job is not hauling materials. Its real job is protecting an identity. The second force is social proof. When every driveway in the neighborhood has a truck, it starts to feel normal. When coworkers drive trucks, a modest sedan can feel embarrassing. When social media is full of new truck photos, the pressure gets even stronger. The irrational decision becomes invisible because everyone around you is doing the same thing. The neighbor bought a bigger one. The coworker upgraded his. Everyone seems fine, so it must be fine. But you don't see what happens behind closed doors. You don't see the stress, the arguments, the empty savings account, the unfunded retirement plan, or the extra work needed just to keep the payments alive. Everyone looks confident from the outside. Inside, many are stretched thin. That's the illusion. A whole group of people silently overextended, each using the others as proof that the decision was normal. The third force is payment thinking instead of price thinking. Dealerships know exactly how to shift the conversation. They don't want buyers focused on the total price. They want one question controlling the entire deal. What monthly payment are you comfortable with? Once that number is given, the math gets shaped around it. A $65,000 truck on a $600 budget? No problem. Stretch the loan to 84 months and suddenly the payment looks affordable. But the buyer ignores the trade-off. They may pay $15,000 in interest. They may spend most of the loan owing more than the truck is worth. And they are now locked into 7 years of payments on an asset that loses value every month. That is how monthly payment thinking creates the illusion of affordability. If the payment fits, the purchase feels safe, but the total cost gets pushed into the future where it feels less real. This is how solid income households become broke, not from one giant mistake, from stacking manageable payments until every dollar is already spoken for. The truck is $975. The mortgage is $2,200. The second vehicle is $450. Student loans take $380. Suddenly, the paycheck arrives already spent. Then comes the fourth trap, sunk cost acceleration. After buying the truck, the owner keeps making smaller decisions that make the original mistake even worse. The factory wheels don't look bold enough, so he spends $3,000 on upgrades. The truck needs more presence, so he adds a lift kit for $5,000. Then comes a $1,200 tonneau cover for a bed that barely carries anything. Tint, exhaust, running boards, bed lighting. Each purchase feels small compared to the truck itself, but together they deepen the financial hole. Many truck owners spend another $5,000 to $15,000 on modifications within the first couple of years. Most of those upgrades add little resale value, but they create a strong emotional bond. Now, the truck isn't just transportation. It's a project, a hobby, a personality statement. And that makes it even harder to sell, because selling it means admitting the money spent on customization is gone forever. Then comes the fifth trap, negative equity. This is where the financial damage can become brutal. Imagine buying a truck for $62,000. 2 years later, after paying around $24,000, the truck is worth only $42,000, but the remaining loan balance is still $48,000. That means the owner is $6,000 underwater. Now, maybe the payment feels too heavy. Maybe life changed. Maybe he finally realizes the truck is crushing his budget, so he wants out. But selling it means bringing $6,000 in cash just to clear the loan. Most people don't have that. So the dealership offers what sounds like a rescue. Trade it in. Roll the $6,000 of negative equity into the next loan. But that usually doesn't mean moving into a cheaper car. To hide the negative equity and keep the payment attractive, the buyer often moves into something even more expensive. So the $62,000 truck he couldn't afford becomes a $70,000 truck he really can't afford. The payment may look close enough to feel manageable. But now, he starts the new loan already buried. He owes more than the new truck is worth on day one. And the cycle repeats. Each trade-in digs the hole deeper. Some people end up carrying $15,000 or $20,000 in negative equity, trapped because escaping would require a massive check they don't have. The dealership profits. The lender profits. The buyer calls it a solution while sinking further into automotive debt. Now let's compare two hypothetical households and watch how these choices compound. Both families earn $130,000 combined. They live in similar neighborhoods, raise 2 children, and have nearly identical lifestyles. The difference is not income. It is vehicle strategy. The first household owns 2 vehicles worth about $95,000 combined. One is a loaded pickup truck. The other is a 3-row luxury SUV. Between payments, insurance, and fuel, their transportation costs exceed $2,600 per month. That is $31,200 every year. The second household owns 2 vehicles worth about $38,000 combined. Both are reliable 3-year-old Japanese sedans bought used. Their total monthly transportation cost is around $950. That is $11,400 per year. The gap between them is $19,800 annually. Pause on that number. Over 10 years, that is $198,000. If invested at an 8% return, the difference grows to roughly $310,000. Over 20 years, the gap can climb past $900,000, almost $1 million. Not because one family earned more, because one family refused to let vehicles quietly consume their future. Both families still got to work. Their children still got to school. Groceries still made it home. Life still functioned. But one family built wealth. The other transferred wealth to automakers, dealerships, insurers, and fuel companies. That is what makes this trap so effective. The people caught in it rarely feel trapped. They see themselves as reasonable, practical buyers. They believe the truck is useful, even when its capabilities barely get used. And because the truck is tied to identity, questioning it feels personal. Challenge the purchase, and the defense comes instantly. What if I need to help someone move? What if there's an emergency? What if I buy a boat later? These imaginary situations become the justification for a very real monthly expense. The truck becomes insurance against needs that may never arrive. Except the premium is $1,500 a month, and the policy almost never pays out. So ask the obvious question. What would it cost to rent capability only when you actually need it? A pickup rental might cost around $100 to $150 for a full day, including fuel. Even using one 12 times a year would cost roughly $1,500 annually. Owning the truck can cost $18,000 or more per year. You could rent again and again and still come out far ahead. But renting does not provide status. It does not sit in your driveway. It does not signal success. It does not make you feel like the rugged, prepared person you want to project. That is why the math loses to emotion. Escaping this trap means asking uncomfortable questions. Is this vehicle solving a real problem or protecting an image? Would a modest car make you feel smaller? Would you worry what neighbors think? Would losing the truck feel like losing part of yourself? Those feelings are real, but they are expensive. So here is the test. For the next 3 months, track actual truck use. Every time something goes in the bed, write it down. Every time you tow something, write it down. Every time four-wheel drive is truly needed, write it down. At the end, look at the list honestly. If it is short or empty, you do not need a truck. You want a truck. That is acceptable, just don't lie to yourself about the purchase. You are not buying utility. You are buying image, identity, and status. Once you admit that, you can decide whether the price makes sense. Next, calculate the real cost. Add the payment, insurance, fuel, maintenance, registration, taxes, and depreciation. Then divide it by 12. That number is your monthly transportation burn rate. Now compare it to 15% of your gross monthly income. If your transportation costs are above that line, you are stretched too far, no matter how normal the payment feels. Then run the opportunity cost test. Take the amount you are spending above what a practical vehicle would cost. Multiply it by 12. That is your yearly excess. Now compound that number at 8% across the rest of your working life. That final number is the wealth you are giving up. After that, ask the harder questions. Would driving a modest sedan make you feel less successful? Would you care what other people think? Would giving up the truck feel like giving up part of your identity? Those emotions are real, but they are not free. Once you understand what you are actually paying for, you can choose with open eyes. The auto industry has spent billions building these emotional connections. It has tied trucks to strength, independence, toughness, and success. It has turned luxury pickups into something that feels necessary instead of excessive. Breaking free from that message requires awareness. Your vehicle is a tool. It is not your identity. Many genuinely wealthy people drive ordinary vehicles because they care more about building wealth than looking wealthy. That mindset changes everything. The most financially successful people often drive cars that would not impress anyone. Paid-off sedans. Used SUVs bought a few years old. Reliable transportation that does its job without draining their future. Their driveways may look ordinary. Their garages may not hold giant chrome status symbols. But their investment accounts tell the real story. While the Pavement Princess sits outside announcing success to the neighborhood, real success is often being built quietly somewhere else. It is built by the person sending $1,500 a month into assets instead of payments. It is built by choosing future freedom over present appearance. That truck may be worth $15,000 in 10 years. The investments made instead could become something far more powerful. And there is one more cost people ignore: time. 7 years of payments means 7 years of obligation. 7 years where quitting is harder. 7 years where flexibility disappears. 7 years where the truck payment quietly chains you to the job that funds it. Financial independence is not only about growing wealth, it is about lowering mandatory expenses until work becomes optional. Every unnecessary payment pushes freedom farther away. A pavement princess can add 5 or 10 years to your working life compared to driving something reasonable. That is not just money. That is your time, your energy, your life, all traded for the appearance of capability you almost never use. The choice is still yours. But now you know what the choice really is. It was never about the truck.